These songs of freedom, it's all I ever had. Redemption songs. What? These songs of freedom, it's all I ever had. Redemption songs. Redemption songs. Emancipate yourselves from mental slavery and battle yourselves and free our minds. Have no fear for atomic energy, 'cause none of them can stop the tide. How long shall they kill our prophets while we stand aside? Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you find yourselves today. It's another beautiful day, and we are here as usual to have a 30 minutes of thought-provoking discussions, to have a 30 minutes of life-changing discussions, to have a 30 minutes of life-transforming discussions. You can invite a friend to invite a friend. You can share and invite people to be a part of the discussion. However, if you want to join via Zoom, due to the past experience we had last weekend, this time we're not opening the Zoom it's not open. If you want to be a part of the Zoom discussion, if you want to join us in the discussion via Zoom, just hit us up on Facebook Live, and we would send you the link to be a part of the discussion. We had a very crazy experience last weekend, and we don't want to repeat that experience. With that being said, I'd want to start today's discussion by quoting Carter G. Woodson, the author of The Miseducation of the Negro. And he said, if you can control a man's thinking, you do not have to worry about his actions. If you can control a man's thinking, you do not have to worry about his actions. When you determine what a man shall think, you do not have to concern yourself about what he would do. If you can determine what a man shall think, you do not have to worry yourself about what he will do. If you control the man's thinking, if you control the thinking of a man, you do not have to worry about his actions. It's a very powerful statement. Very, very powerful statement. If you understand the dynamics of the mind and how it controls what we do. As a matter of fact, that's what I call the hard drive, the brain or the mind, whichever way I'm going to use that interchangeably. The hard drive is what determines our tomorrow from what we compute on the hard drive today. How we want the hard drive to process is what we're going to see tomorrow, is what we're going to see a minute from now, is what we're going to see 10 minutes from now. So one of the things I tell people is that safeguard the hard drive. I believe that most of us who have computers would not just want anybody to log on your computer and just start doing anything or just start processing or programming your computer. You would definitely want your hard drive to be protected. As a matter of fact, that's why sometimes we even have passwords on our hard drives. It is very, very, very crucial and very, very important. You do not want just anything or anybody to compute or to program your hard drive. And in this case, we're talking about the mind. That is, I don't even know. It is the power bank. Let me put it that way. It is the power bank of our lives. The hard drive is the power bank of our lives. And so we need to safeguard the hard drive, our minds. Today, we're going to be asking ourselves a few questions. And the first question is, who is controlling the environment you find yourself in? Who is controlling the environment, or what is controlling the environment? That is the second question. Who is controlling the environment? And the second question is, what is controlling the environment you find yourself in? It is very, very critical and very crucial for us to answer these questions if we want to be successful, if we want to be productive to our communities, if we want to be productive to our generation, our nation, and the world at large. We need to know who is controlling the environment or the culture. If I if I say culture, I still mean the environment. What 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 environment you live in determines how you behave, what you say, what you do. And those of us who's been with us for the past 5 weeks or weekends, you would understand that when I hear people make statements like, oh, um, or when people allude creativity and inventions to the color of one's skin. I heard one uh, member of parliament, a member of parliament in Ghana, saying that the black man was born bad. The black man was born bad. And I immediately knew the environment. Who is controlling his environment? What is controlling your environment, and who is controlling your environment dictates how you think and how you speak and how you act. Today, we want to draw our attention to the fact that we got to control our environment. We should be the owners of our hard drive. We should create the environment we want to live in. And we have that power. We have that ability to create the environment we want to live in. And what you program on your hard drive, what you want to listen to, what you want to watch, what you want to process, it's very vital. And last week we spoke about being positive minded, knowing our worth and our value, knowing our worth and our value. And today we're moving on to controlling the environment you find yourself in. How do you control the environment we find ourselves in? I made mention of the fact that the African environment, the African culture is being controlled from outside. It's being controlled. Let me be straightforward. It's being controlled by the Western world through our schooling system, through economic policies, through the social policies they invent for our culture, for our environment. And so it is no wonder our politicians and people occupying places of power behave the way they behave. I can count about just 5 African countries. It is not even up to 5 African countries where leadership is up and doing, where leadership is up and doing. The rest, about 51 countries in Africa, leadership or people in power have no control over what is going on within the environment. About 51 countries, excuse me, out of the 54 countries have no idea, they have no clue what is going on in their environment. So they become like puppets. The other time I made mention of democracy. And one brother did not understand what I meant by our problem in Africa is not democracy, because democracy is a system, is a human system. It is not a Western system. Democracy is not a Western system. If we talk about democracy, we're talking about the rule of law. We're talking about a community of people putting law above everybody and anybody. That is democracy, period. It's the rule of law, a group of people respecting law. And so I don't care about the structures we put in place. The Americans or the Western world put structures like partisan politics, where they have multi-party democracy, where they go to the ballot boxes and cast their votes every 4 years or some 8 years, whatever years. Africa can set up structures. We can set up structures that will support and facilitate our form of rule of law. That is all democracy is about. It's not about going to the ballot box 4 years. So when people don't understand, I get it, because it's part of the package that is controlling our environment. Democracy is not about going to the ballot box every 4 years. Democracy is not about multi-party systems in our country. That happens to be the Western system. They set up those structures to help facilitate their democracy. We as Africans can look at our peculiar and our unique environment and set up structures that will also help us to facilitate the rule of law. But the key ingredient here, the key substance here is the rule of law, period. That is all democracy is about. The law has to be supreme, and the law gives me right to live a happy and a free life. Now, we're not doing democracy today, so I'm not going to talk about freedom and liberty. We'll talk about that some other time as we progress, because this is Leadership Academy, so we're going to be talking about a whole bunch of things. But today we're talking about who is controlling the environment you live in. And what is controlling the environment you live in is what is programming your hard drive, your mind, your environment, your culture, is what is programming our minds to behave the way we behave, to think the way we think. So if we want to think of ourselves as subhumans, it is because we are living in an environment where that kind of thought or that idea is being perpetuated. So what is controlling the environment we live in? We would have to be sure we find out what is controlling the environment and who is controlling the environment we live in. And we have to, if we want to live a better life, if we want to live a successful life, we need to take charge of what is controlling our environment and who is controlling our environment. And like I said, we have to be the masters or the key architects of our environment. That is why our schooling system should be transformed into an educational system. I want to repeat this. That is why our schooling system should be transformed into an educational system, because that is part of what is controlling our environment. I was talking to somebody today about the fact that we don't produce successive leadership in Africa. None of the African countries produces successive leadership, because we leave everything for chance. We don't program. You see, life is about planning. It's not about chance. Oh, no, life is about planning, because Nyame gave us the mind. He gave us the brains to think, to use the brains, the white substance between our ears. It's meant for us. That is a hard drive. It is meant for us to use to make our lives where and what we want it to be. So instead of us planning, and the planning has to start from the environment. My co-host on Analyze This every Saturday, Prof will say, what kind of society or community do we want to live in? It is a crucial question we got to ask ourselves, because the society, the community, the environment, the culture is what shapes our thinking. So I tell people, you got to move with people who are more intelligent than you, because they will shape your thinking. They will force you to think beyond your limits. Create an environment that would force you to be creative. What do you feed your mind? What do you read? What do you listen to? What do you watch? You see, we got to be intentional about living. There is nothing like chances. Nothing should be left to chance. Because, like I said, the system of the world is looking for control and power. So if you leave something to chance, somebody will take advantage, somebody will take over it and use that as a leverage or a tool to control you. So we got to take charge of the environment we live in. And specifically, this I am saying concerning the African countries. We got to take charge of our schooling system and transform that to an educational system. And one of the most important things, which I said last week, any serious country which is bent on transforming that particular country or the environment of that country into a progressive country would first use the language of understanding in the educational systems, because that is what is going to give the kids a deeper understanding of what you are teaching them. Most of the kids have superficial understanding of what is being taught. They don't have a deeper understanding. And the superficial understanding is what gives them the leverage to pass the exams. And so right after they come out of school, what next? Waiting for the government to employ them. They are not prepared to be deployed. They were prepared to be employed. And how many people can be employed? So the system is choked, and you have a backlog of people waiting to be employed. Whereas if a true educational system is set up, it'll prepare a people ready to be deployed. So we need to first take charge of the environment by creating an educational system that will cause us to use the white substance between our ears. It is very, very important. And that is the starting point. We can't wait to make changes at the university level. It's got to start from the kindergarten level. We need to be deliberate, have programs, have curriculums that will help shape the thinking of the African youth. Other than that, there's no hope. Other than that, there's no hope. But as we know that the mind is powerful, as we know that the mind has a way of changing the situations around, that is what gives us the hope. So that is the governmental point of view. The educational system is it's basically for the government. It's nothing we can do about it. Well, we have private institutions where people can also set up schools and develop programs that will help. But on a whole, we need that system. Now we're moving from that to personal. Like I said, on the personal level, if you want to progress, if you want to move from A to B, you need to be intentional about it. You don't leave it to chance. And one of the things you had to do is to ask yourself, the environment I want to go in, the environment I want to create for myself, how do I create that environment for myself? And one of the things you have to start doing is to start programming the hard drive with what you want to see yourself, the vision you have for yourself. You have to start programming the hard drive to see that vision. It is not by chance. It is not by any divine orchestration. It is by planning, systematic planning. So if you want to see yourself in a certain environment, begin to create that environment by first feeding your mind with the things that will help you to think of that environment. I want to repeat this portion. If you want to create an environment, begin to feed your mind with the things that will help you to think of that environment, because you got to think about it first before you can create it. You cannot create anything without first thinking about it. So what do you want to create? In order for you to be able to create what you want to create, you got to first think about it. And how do you think about it? By programming your mind, by reading the stuff that will help you to think about it, by watching the stuff that will help you to think about it, hearing the stuff that will help you to think about it. And this is a note, or yes, it's a note I want to bring to the attention of parents, especially. I was talking to somebody over the phone, and the son did something behind um in the background, and I heard him talking about, that's stupid. So in the course of our discussion, I was like, instead of telling the kid that is stupid, why don't you tell him you're better than what you just did? You're more intelligent than what you just did. That will create a certain level of thinking for the child. That will make the child understand that I have what it takes to be better than what I just did. I have the power to be better than what I just did. But when you tell the child you're stupid, you know what you're doing? You're creating an environment for the child to start thinking of himself or herself as being stupid, and that he is not going to amount to anything, or she's not going to amount to anything. So that is how the child is going to begin to process that information and begin to act out that information. Let us not take the things we say and the things we hear for granted. They are very powerful in shaping our minds, which will eventually shape our environment and will eventually shape our world. It is very, very, very important. As I said on this platform, I was amazed when I was researching for my second book, Life is Easy, Don't Make It Hard. I came across this piece of information, scientific information, and it blew my mind that the first senses that forms the human fetus, the first senses happens to be the hearing sense. So it tells you how important what you hear goes a long way to form the world you live in. So today I want to challenge somebody. Be intentional about what you hear. Be intentional about the things you feed your mind. Be intentional about the things you watch. Be intentional about the things you read, because that is going directly onto your hard drive. And then your hard drive begins to process it. And then you begin to think about it. And the more you think about it, you begin to create what you think. So, what is controlling your environment? Who is controlling your environment? These are the two questions I want to leave with us today. Are you in charge of the environment you live in? The things controlling your environment, the things you're feeding your hard drive, is this something that you are in charge of? Are you deliberate about what you feed your hard drive, the positive stuff you feed your hard drive, or you are just leaving it to chance for other people to take advantage of what goes on your hard drive? Because somebody's got to control the environment. It cannot be left uncontrolled. Somebody has to control the environment. Is it you controlling the environment you live in, or with somebody else? There are certain things we cannot do anything about. I believe most of you have heard the statement that you cannot control what is said to you or what is done to you, but you can control how you react to it. And it is very, very vital and very, very important. And if you can control how you react to what is done to you or what is said to you, it depends on how you have mastered your mind. That is the first place. That is the first place you need to take charge of, your mind. I was talking to a group the other time and I told them, anybody seeking office who has no emotional intelligence, for me, is not fit to get my vote. Anybody seeking office or seeking political power who has no emotional intelligence, you don't have emotional intelligence, forget about my vote. Because it means you have no control over your mind. And if you have no control over your mind, you act and behave anyway. And most times, your mind becomes the playground for other people. You leave your hard drive open for anybody to program on your hard drive. And how can I trust such a person to represent me? Because my vote is a representation of me. So, what is controlling your environment? Who is controlling your environment? Finally, I just want to reiterate, make sure the things you read, make sure the things you watch, make sure the things you say are the things you want to program your hard drive, your mind with. So it'll help you start thinking. If you want to create something, you have to feed your mind with the things that will motivate you, or the things that will inspire you, the things that will kickstart you to create. So take charge of the environment you find yourself in. Don't be amongst fools. Don't be among fools if you have a serious business to take care of. Don't be amongst people who ain't going nowhere. If you're going somewhere, don't hang out with people who ain't going nowhere. Because guess what? You're leaving your hard drive without a password, free for anybody to program on it. And if they program on your hard drive, guess what? You're going to be just like them. you're going to behave just like them. So make sure you have control over your environment. Take charge of your culture where you find yourself. Anytime you walk into a place, tell yourself, I am in charge. And so I would choose what I want to hear. I would choose what I want to listen to. I would choose what I want to watch. Because I am deliberately programming my mind for success. If we take that decision, it's going to go a long way to help us. And that should be the starting point. Taking charge of what goes on your hard drive. I want to beg of you to take charge of what goes on your hard drive if you mean to transform your life and transform your community and your nation at large. I want to thank you so much for your time and your attention. Let me go on Facebook to see if I have any contributions. Uh, okay, I have my brother from another mother, Mr. Cossack. Hey, my love to the family. I have Miss Christy Young. Miss Christy Young, thank you for your time. It's been a while. Alrighty, I don't have any questions. With that being said, thank you so much for your time and your attention. Next week, same time, we're going to be here with Leadership Academy. We're going to continue with transforming our minds. We are resetting our minds for success. So if you want to be a part of this program, just bookmark the day and make it a point to be with us every Friday, 6 p.m. to 6:30. Share, invite other people to be a part of it so we can all transform our lives and transform our communities. My name is Nana Osei Bonsu Jr. of Afriwick International Organization and Certo Leadership International. See you same time next week.